So if you are here to watch the second part of this video, that is cool. So we left off with a character body 3D here, and we're just going to be erasing this code, and we're going to try understanding how a 3D platformer works in Godot by ourselves, or how does a platformer work in general. So if we have our land over here and we have our player, well, our player obviously has some gravity being applied to it, and it has a jump force that will overcome gravity. Now, the thing is, gravity has to always be applying when the character is not on the floor. So gravity is being applied, and we will see how this works. Gravity is being applied when the character is not on the floor, but if the character is on the floor, we do not want to apply gravity because that just pushes our player into the ground, and eventually Godot will just say, okay, you're going so fast downwards, you might as well go through the floor. We have a jump force, we can move left, right, forwards, backwards, and we will add all of that, just so we know what we're doing. And the reason where I'm doing this in 3D, even though it's the exact same in 2D, is that sometimes it's a little hard to understand the three-directional axes and whatnot. So I'm actually going to leave that on the screen and program and draw at the same time. In our function ready, that one, we're going to try, well, we don't have to do anything in the ready function. We have to first declare some variables. So a variable we have is gravity, as you can see over here. So gravity, I'm going to call grav, is just like maybe like 10 downwards. And our const jumps force, force is maybe, let's say it's about 20. Of course, these numbers are subject to change, but at the moment, we'll keep it like this. So in our function physics process, which happens every single frame, and how did I know this? Well, if I control click physics process, I can go to the Godot documentation, and you can see over here, it says physics process is called during the physics processing step, the main loop, which just means it's synced to the frame rate, and it's basically called every frame. Now, going back to this, we always have to do a check if our player is not on the floor. So I'm actually going to do that check right now. Character body 3D actually has access to some properties that help. And you can see over here that this ball is right next to, oh, it's not right next to, but we can see over here that we have some interesting function names here, which are is on floor. Okay, so is on floor returns true if the body is on the floor. So that is very similar to saying if we are on floor, this will return false because we are not on the floor, but over here it will return true. And this is helpful because if is on floor, if we are on floor, then I want to apply, gravity. What am I applying gravity to? Well, we have to make a velocity variable, or our direction. And I'm going to set it to a type of vector3, but I'm not going to, well, I guess I could set a type like a initial value to it. So vector3.0. If we are on the floor, so if we are not on the floor, these things mean the same thing. So exclamation mark and not. If we are not on the floor, then I want our direction.y to be plus equal to gravity. I guess I could call this velocity, or velocity, because velocity is direction times speed, and this gravity has a speed, essentially. So if we're not on the floor, apply gravity. If we go back to our player, and we just drag the player up in the world, then we're going to see that, if we run the scene, I'm going to get rid of this. If I run the scene, nothing is happening. Why is nothing happening? Well, because we aren't moving and sliding. What is moving and sliding? Well, every character body, 2D and 3D, has a move and slide function where it will use the velocity pre-built into Godot. So character body 3D also has a velocity variable, which is over here, this velocity. And this velocity will move the character, okay? Think of it as this is the way the character will move, and whatever this variable is set to is how the character body 3D will move. This velocity doesn't matter. This is just for us to handle. So if we do velocity is equal to velocity, even though this sounds confusing, this is saying velocity according to Godot is going to equal our own custom velocity. The reason we want to do a custom velocity is because it just helps when we want to modify it in ways that we don't want to apply to the player, or maybe want to check something before applying. This is why we have our own custom velocity, but this is Godot's velocity, and this Godot velocity will work on move and slide. Okay. Let's see. So now if we run the scene, our character is going up. So that means gravity is downwards, and jump force is positive. So now you can see that our character is smacked onto the floor. And just because we can, we'll just print out velocity just to see what happens. So you can see that for the time being, when the character was falling, and you can reverse the video because it happened so fast, but maybe I'll play it back here. But when we're falling down, the number is increasingly negative, and what's happened, like when you fall down with gravity, you accelerate downwards. So it's accelerating downwards, our player is accelerating downwards, and then it stops. It doesn't have any extra velocity once it smacks and hits the ground. So now we have to go to our project settings and get some inputs. So obviously I like naming mine things left, right, forward, backward. I have no clue if I ever spelled them right. I'm pretty sure I do. So I'm going to add an action to them, which is like which key do I press. So obviously left is A, right is D, forward is W, and backwards is D or S. So what I want to do now is I want to do a get inputs function. This is a custom function we are defining in Godot ourselves. So I'm going to define this function. And now every single frame, this get inputs gets called. And what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say our velocity.x is going to be equal to input.getActionStrength. GetActionStrength left minus, and I'm going to go over here, left minus right. Okay, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing for z, but I'm going to do forward minus backward. Minus backward. Okay, if I zoom out a bit, this is what it looks like. And I'm just going to multiply, I'm going to put these in brackets, and I'm going to multiply them by some sort of speed, because we want our velocity to, kind of be fast. So times speed, and I'm going to go over here, define a constant. It doesn't really have to be a constant, but if you want to, you can make it a constant. Speed 30, just for, and now you can see I'm moving around. But if you're running the code right now, you'll see everything is kind of inverted. So either, there's a few ways you can fix it. You can just switch the right and left. Sometimes I get them mixed up. Yeah, you can switch them, or you can also, if this was left and this was right, then you can just put a negative at the front, and that essentially flips them too. But now you can see we have our little platformer working, and the issue is we don't have jump working actually. So we're going to add jump, and the way we can add jump is if input.isAction just pressed, and we don't have a jump, but we can always define jump, and that's by again going to the project settings, input map, and we type in jump. And when we jump, okay, and what we're going to do now is what the drawing over here in the beginning of the video was, where over here the ball was on the ground, and we're going to apply this jump force. So the way we can do this is by saying pass, we're going to say velocity.y minus equals jump force. Oh no, sorry, plus equals jump force. And now when we press jump, which is a spacebar, you can see that nothing, you can see that we are jumping a little bit. It doesn't happen the second time I jump, which is really weird. It only happens one time. Maybe we have to increase the jump force, so I'm going to set it to something like 100 instead of just 20. So now you see I'm jumping. It's really bad. Okay, why is it really bad? And why can't I jump multiple times? These are very good questions. And let's see. Jump force plus equals jump force. The reason why is because you want to set it to the jump force, not equal it to the jump force. So now jumping is working a lot better. Of course, you can always reduce the gravity, and then you have to reduce the jump force to make things smoother. So before it was a lot more hectic. Now it's falling a bit slower. Again, if you lower it again, then you have to lower your jump force. Otherwise, your player will just go flying. But now you can see I fall slowly and I jump slowly. I move too quickly on the X and Z axis, so I'm obviously going to slow it down just to make things look a bit smoother. Now you can see you have a much calmer platformer, and there are a lot of things you can do to this. You could add acceleration, deacceleration, you can add triple jumps, multiple jumps, you can add a jump limit. That's very easy, so you can put a small counter, and then when the threshold exceeds, so if you jump 1, 2, 3, you can count this, and if you press spacebar again, but the counter is at 3, then don't jump, but go down, you know? There's a lot of things you can do, but that was just explaining how you could make a very, very simple platformer, a 3D platformer in Godot 4.2.2 stable, and that's all I have to say. Have an amazing day. Shut up, you stupid.